Hello everyone, welcome to my channel. So today I'm going to show you how to color skin tones, how I like to use, what method I use. And so this is just a image that I printed. I just found it online. So I just printed this off and I have some bleed through paper underneath because the markers I'm going to be using tend to bleed through, and this is just thin printer paper. So the markers I'm going to be using are Arctic skin tones, because I think alcohol markers blend really well. So I'm going to be using these today. So let's get right into it. So the first thing you gotta decide when you have a picture like this is if you want light skin tone, medium skin tone, or dark skin tone. So today I'm going to be showing you medium skin tone to show that this will work on any skin tone. And I'm also going to be coloring her hair today as well. So let's start with choosing colors. So here I have a skin color chart of all my markers. I find this very helpful when using markers if you have a chart. So for medium skin tone, for my base color, I like to use 306. Now the base color is the lightest color that you'll see in that skin tone. So I'm going to do 306 for the base color. Then you need a color that's just slightly darker to just start the shadows. So to start the shadows, I might use, say, 303 or 301. So I'm going to use 301. And then when you start getting slightly darker, you might use 303 maybe. And then when you get to your darkest, I'm going to use 328 today. So using these colors, we are going to do her skin tone. So the idea is to do lightest to dark. So let's get started. Okay, so the first thing I'm going to do is take 306, which is this number, and I'm just going to go ahead and color all of this. I'm not going to color her lips, and I'm not going to color too close to her eyes. I'm just going to color this part of her face. So I'm going to be aware of the hairline up here as well. Just going to go around it. You can always outline like this and then fill it in. And the best thing about alcohol markers is that they'll the lines will blend together, so it won't be so streaky. If it is a little bit streaky, don't worry about it, because once you add the shadows, it'll probably be pretty much unnoticeable. So just go ahead and color in all of this. Alcohol markers, since they bleed, they are wet when you first put them down. So if you're going around the lips, try to leave just a little bit of space so that it doesn't blend onto the lips. If it does, that's always okay though, because since this is the base skin color, it's not gonna really hurt the color that you'll put on the lips later. It'll just make it look more natural and match her skin tone. So here I'm just avoiding the hair and then just filling this in. So when I first started out coloring, I had no idea where to put any of the shadows. So as a beginner, you may feel this way too. Shadows are intimidating maybe. So looking at references is always good when you're doing people. This one I didn't have a reference for since I just found it. So, you can always look at your own face, where do the shadows fall on your own face, and go from there. And you can look at real objects, you got to focus where's the light coming from. So if I'm doing the light coming from straight on her, then the lightest parts are going to be her forehead, her cheeks, her chin, the tip of her nose, and maybe some parts on her neck. So now with your second darkest color, you're just going to go in and start adding the shadows around here. Now notice I'm going pretty far out, because since this is the part where it just starts to get a little bit darker, this is going to be just starting to recognize where those shadows are. So you can go out farther on the face with these shadows. So you can come alongside the nose here, like this. And I I like to do, I pretty much always do alongside the face here, because her hair is coming over her face and casting a shadow. So it comes along her cheekbones and down, and there's most of the time there's a shadow below her nose as well. And there's one shadow though that not many people realize is there. It's the one right here under your bottom lip. This shadow is kind of important because, I mean, it's a shadow, it's part of your face. So just when you're coloring, you can always go and add that in if you like. I also do shadows like above the eye on the eyelid. You might not want to do shadows so much under the eye because it could look like she's tired, but definitely over the eye is a perfectly fine place for a shadow. So then on the neck, her chin is overshadowing her neck here. So you just come down with the shadows here. And you can come down as far as you feel you need to. And then you can just come out with shadows here for her hair. And there can always be like a little shadow line over clothes. And then like little shadows where her collarbone is and everything. And then another shadow along this edge of her hair. Like that. So now you've laid out all the basic shadows on her face. So if you're thinking this shadow edge down here, it feels like kind of rough to you, then go back with your base color, which for me is number 306, and just go right over that line, and it will blend it right out. Like, it will blend, and it won't be such harsh of a line anymore. So you can just blend it, and then you can come up here and blend more if you want. Sometimes, though, I like to leave the lines a little bit harsher because I feel like they make the shadows stand out on her face, and it gives it more contrast. But if you want to blend it, that's totally okay. I do that a lot too. So now we're going to go in with our next darkest color, which is 303. So this is where you don't want to come out so far from her hairline, since this is a pretty dark color now, but just go right into the same exact spots where we put number 301, but just do it a little bit thinner along here so that you can still see 301, but like this one, you can see the shadows start to get darker the closer to her features they get. So just putting these shadows along here and down here on her neck too. And then closer to her hairline this time, because since they're darker, they won't pop out as much as the medium shadows do. And there you go. And now we just have to do this darkest value. So we take this value and we just go right along the edge with this one because we don't want it to overpower the other shadows we've already blended. We just want to get those really darkest values put in there. So we just blend it along here. And sometimes it doesn't even go to all the shadow points because it's so dark. So like it might go this far, but not over here. Because say this is lighter than down here where the shadows are. So you just put it along the edge of all these shadows. And you don't put it too far out. Like that. So now you've colored all of her skin on her face. You can also add blush if you like. So I can show you how to do that. So I'm going to take these two colors here. These are the ones I like to use for blush, 302 and 308. So you can also use this one. I'm going to use 307. So you can either put down your darkest color or your lightest color first for blush. Sometimes I do work my way from dark to light with blush, just to lay out where it's going to be. So there's not going to be a lot of dark with blush. So if you're going to do blush, just do like a little line where the blush is going to be for the darkest area. And it's going to look weird at first, but don't panic because you haven't ruined it. So then go in with the next darkest, the next like lightest color. and blend around it like this. And I know it looks unnatural, but then take your next lightest color and blend around that. And try to make them even on both sides if you can. And now what you're going to do is take your base color from the beginning, which for me is 306, and we're just going to go and blend around all that. And it'll blend the blush right into her face. So you won't really see like where the blush stops and starts, because it'll just fade in to make her cheeks a rosy pink color. So we're just going to let that dry real quick, because it's not like its actual color when it's wet. So we're just going to let that dry, and then I'll show you what it looks like. Okay, so it's mostly dried. It only takes a few seconds really, but if you don't like this line right here, then you can take your base color and color over this rest of her face here to like cover up that line. One thing you don't want to do not, under any circumstance, use this colorless blender unless you've already tested it. Because I have noticed that when you put this colorless blender over top, since this is a really light color, because it's clear, it'll make this weird grainy texture over what you tried to blend, and I don't know, I just don't like the result of these. So don't use the colorless blender unless you have previously tested it, because you wouldn't want to ruin this after you like just worked so hard to color it. So now I'm going to show you her lips. So you can start with a light base coat for her lips. So I'm just going to do 309 just to get a good pinky color on her lips before I add the darker tones. So I'm just going to color like right over those lips. And sure, yeah, that's good. But we're going to do some more. So we're going to add 302, which are these two. This is actually supposed to be a lipstick color, so that's why I'm going to use this on her lips, because it works. So we're just going to go, and the darkest parts of your lips are really like this line in the middle where your lips come together, and then like in the corners of your mouth. And then this is pretty light. So you can just go ahead with your darker color and just put it along those areas. And then take your even darker color, which is 308, and put it along the edges and across the middle of these areas. And then you've blended her lips. So now she kind of doesn't really need any coloring to her eyes since she has like pupils, but I'm just going to put some brown in here since I have a darker brown. Those are her eyes. You can like add a little bit of shadow to like the whites of her eyes if you want. I mean, it's fine if you just leave it too. And if you notice right here, see how the lipstick kind of went over the edge onto her skin? This is where you take your base skin coat and you just lightly pat it on there. And then it'll just blend right away. It'll just blend and you won't even see it anymore once it dries. Okay, so now we're going to do her hair. So for her hair, it's basically the same thing as her face, except you don't need nearly as many tones. You can just do a base coat and then a dark coat and just blend them. So I'm going to use 327 for the base coat, and then 328 for some other strands of her hair that might be in the shadows more. And then we can use 329 for any extreme shadows, but we might not need that one. So I'm just going to take 327 and just color all of her hair. So I'm not going to show you this on camera because it's really not anything to see. It's just me coloring her hair, and it's going to take a little bit. So I'll just go ahead and color that real quick for you guys. Okay, so I took my base color for the hair and I colored all of her hair. If you are coloring and then you realize, uh-oh, that wasn't a part of her hair, that was like the background, don't even worry about it, because like 99 out of 100% chance no one's going to notice. So now what you're going to do is take your next darkest color, which for me is 328. So what we're going to do is just think about where all these shadows would be. So sometimes, because this picture, it was kind of like an illustrated picture that I found online, so you can already see there are some shadows like up here near her part. So you can just go in with your darker marker, that rhymes, and just add the shadows up here. And then along like these crease lines, you can just add your darker color. And then just along these lines here. So if you notice, like right here, this is like a hair that's sticking out over this strand. So you can just add a shadow of it here. And go, and like this one's twisting, so it'll be darker here where it comes out from the twist. And then like here where her hair like comes out from behind her, kind of, there'll be like a shadow here, and it'll be darker like over here and over here. And one reason we work with colors lighter to darker is because you can always make something, like you can always make it darker, but you can't always make something lighter when you can't always make it, you can't always make something lighter. So that's why it's better to work light and then add your shadows. That way, if you realize, oh no, it's gotten too dark, then like if you start off and you're like, uh-oh, it's too dark, then you can't get any lighter. But if you start off light, then you can slowly make it darker and control how much darkness you have and where it goes. There are a lot of tutorials too about this kind of thing, so if you want to, you can always look for those too to help you with shadows. I just wanted to do like a basic, when you're coloring people, shadow guide, because I know it can be really difficult when you have like absolutely no idea where a shadow is supposed to go or any of that, because I was there and I was like, what? So sometimes I still am like, wait, should the shadow have gone there? Because, you just gotta practice and then you'll get better. So, just going back and adding more shadows up here. And then over on this side, since I kind of missed this side a little bit. And you probably think, oh, she knows exactly where the shadows are supposed to go, and it's so perfect. But I'm actually just winging it, kind of, because I'm not looking at a reference. I'm just thinking, okay, if this hair overlaps this hair, then there'll be a shadow right here, and then I just color it. So, it's not necessarily perfect. It's just, when you look at it, where do you think shadows would go? And just putting them there, Shadows are natural, they're not perfect, so it's okay if it's if you think it looks a little messy. So, along here, it might seem kind of dark, so you can always go back with your base color and blend out those shadows some more if you like. Again, sometimes I like to just leave it for like contrast, but you don't have to. You can just blend it because it's nice. So then you can take your darkest color, and this is for like really extreme shadows. So this is like along this edge, shadows you want to be prominent, like ones you want to exaggerate. So along like certain edges and everything, this is where you would like put these shadows where it's very dark and where things overlap a lot. So especially like right here, there's like, even the person who illustrated this, they even put like dark here. And this, I just printed this offline, so I'm not taking credit for this drawing or anything. I'm just coloring it to show you guys. So this, like right along here, there'd be shadow because it's a lot darker there than it is like right here per se, because the light hits here, but if this overlaps this, then it's dark right there. This is probably a lot to take in, so it's also easier to just watch than listen to me talk for all this video. So once you think you like it, then you can just go ahead and finish. Like if you're like, okay, satisfied, then you can be done. And then basically it's the same thing for her clothes. Like if you wanted to make her have like a pink shirt, you go light to dark. And yeah, so that is my tutorial for today. If you want to see more, then please like and subscribe, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye.